This is Good Morning Trinidad and Tobago on CTV and Talk City 91.1 FM. I want to change the discussion now and get into violence prevention. I have with me Dr. Pat Elder, who is the founder and director of Elder Associates Limited, and I also have Dr. Natalie Humphrey, who is a clinical director. Good morning, ladies, and welcome.
Good morning.
Thank you very much.
How are you all this morning?
We're well,
Very
thank
good,
you.
thanks.
Palmer, Elder and Associates. Elder Associates Limited, my apologies. What is that about? What is that organization?
What is the organization? Well, we are celebrating 25 years of providing psychological services in Trinidad and Tobago in September, which is next month. We are a group of psychologists who came together back in 1993, and the idea at that time was to provide confidential, professional, psychological services to our community. We are better known for our design and implementation of employee assistance programs. And we've been providing that service to the public and private sectors since 1993, 1994, or thereabout. So we are in Trinidad and Tobago providing that service, and throughout the Caribbean we have consultants who provide the service on our behalf. Now, confidentiality you will find in our logo, Rishi, because we know that that is a real issue for our population. We are, I think it was one of our Calypsonians who say that we are quite precocious.
Yes. Indeed we are.
Yes, I think it was Denise Plummer who said that, if I might quote her. And we love to talk about other people's business. So therefore, in our business, which is psychology, we are forbidden talk about other people's business with others other than with the client and maybe with our supervisors. So confidentiality is really the backbone of our work, and accessibility, of course. So we are accessible, our psychologists who we hire are accessible to our clients on a 24/7 basis by phone, and we have offices throughout Trinidad and Tobago, in South, in Tacarigua, in Tobago, and of course in Port of Spain.
Just give me a little bit more information about the employee assistance programs. What does that entail?
Well, EAPs, as they're fondly known, are programs that are designed for specific organizations, because every organization is like a little country, even this one, right? You would say that? You'll agree?
Yeah.
So you have your norms and your language and your culture within the organization. And employee assistance programs provide support for those employees who may be experiencing some difficulties, some problems, some concerns in their personal and or work life. Yeah? Because we know that none of us live in a silo. We love to keep ourselves safe, but none of us live in a silo, and we have to interface with people we work with, our supervisors, our managers, even the environment in the parking lot, you know, the security guards that we deal with as we drive in here today, they are all part of our world. So employee assistance programs look at the whole person. The mind, body, spirit connection is the way we look at it.
Yeah. Dr. Natalie Humphrey, what part or what role do you play in this organization, and how long have you been with the organization?
Well, I'm the clinical director at Elder Associates, and I've been there for about 5 years. And my role is to oversee and implement the services. So I spend my time ensuring that the services remain confidential and ensuring that the psychologists on our team have what they need to care for people.
All right, and there is an initiative coming up on the 14th of September, which is the 25th anniversary of Elder Associates Limited.
Correct.
And the focus is transcending boundaries together.
Yes. What we decided to do is, I mean, as I said, we've been around for 25 years, and we want to rebrand the company in our 25th year and really look at how we could educate our population on certain issues that are of importance to us. And all of us in this room and elsewhere know that the primary concern of most of our citizens is violence and crime. So we hear a lot of talk about what we could do and what we shouldn't do and what the police should do and, you know, etc. But what we have devised as a company is an approach to prevention of violence, not just crime, but violent behavior in all its myriad forms. Because we know that if we can recognize when those what we call red flags are occurring, maybe there's something we could do to offset it, to prevent it from occurring. And Natty can speak more about the gist of the content of the conference and because the theme really speaks to violence prevention and integrated community approach. Because we know that one person can't fix this. You know, it requires that village, that community approach.
Yeah, and I was reading the flyer that you all had, and it said, many persons in Trinidad and Tobago feel a sense of being without control given their direct and indirect experiences with violence in all its forms.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, one of the services that we provide is counseling after someone has had a tragedy, but we also go to the workplace when a tragedy has occurred. And hundreds of people that we work with will say, after their loved one was murdered or harmed in some way, that, man, there were so many signs that something was going to happen. Or if someone that they love harmed someone, they say, you know, the writing was on the wall. And the fact is that they're right, that violence is very predictable. So we ask them, if you saw these things, why didn't you do something? And their answer is always that I didn't connect the dots. And I didn't know who to share it with. And those that I shared it with didn't know what to do with the information. Right? So those are the things that happen before violence. So this conference is a prevention approach in that we would like to empower everyday people who see things in their community and don't know what to do with that, to do something in a way that does not put them in danger.
But what are some of these signs that people can look out for, these tell signs that might tell you, okay, so this person is being abused or this person may be abusive in some situations?
Well, one of the people that will be at the conference is Renee Cummings, a world-renowned psychologist that thinks a lot about what happens during childhood, during adolescence, early adulthood. What type of experiences do people have that lead them to have violent behaviors themselves? So she will be providing a workshop that will help our attendees to understand when violence may occur, right? So one of the biggest signs is when someone has been exposed to trauma themselves and that trauma hasn't been addressed. So we know that people who grow up in homes where they see their father beat their mother are more likely to use violence to solve their own problems when they get to school. And violence against your classmates can become violence against your partners later on in life. So it's a small example of the type of things that Mrs. Cummings will help us understand. But we'll also have Dr. Sharon McNichol Gopal, who is a world-renowned psychologist who has implemented programs throughout the Caribbean that have reduced violence by recognizing those signs and treating those signs with a different approach than just law enforcement, but actually developing mental health programs that can recognize these signs and treat them early on so that people can make healthier decisions.
And when you get this information, as you mentioned, if a child sees his father being abusive at home, would probably use the same approach with peers, and it can develop into something more serious or as serious, abusive to his partner. If I am seeing that, who do I tell? Because as an onlooker, I would always think, that is not my business. I mean, you may want to know what's going on, as you said, but is it really my business?
Well, with all type of violence, not just domestic violence, the reason that it's your business is that it will impact you eventually. When someone I'll give you an example. There's a woman whose grandson was murdered recently. And since then, if the murder occurred in her home, she's not been able to go back home because she's scared. After several months, she worked up the courage to go back to her community, and all of her close friends who used to be there for her are afraid to talk to her because they're afraid that they will be impacted by that violence. So what we find is that communication about risk can prevent violence, but people are scared, and they're scared to communicate. We have a speaker named Rick Shaw, who has provided a system in many cities and throughout the United States to create a platform for communication and connecting the dots among people from a variety of backgrounds in a safe way. And so we'll be officially launching a community-based program that is integrated because it uses professionals from a variety of backgrounds and everyday people with a variety of experiences to connect the dots and find ways to prevent violence in communities.
So this conference that you would be having, is it open to the public?
Yes. You too. Yes, it is.
Because I'm listening,
yes.
and I'm trying to think about situations where I may have seen somebody or interacted with somebody who have come from an abusive home or acted out in a way, and then you think, I wonder why this person is acting out this way. And then 2 minutes after, you're like, you know what, that's probably just how they are, and you never really sit to think that, you know, this person may actually have problems that we can help with.
Yeah, and that person may be at risk, not only for harming self, but for harming others. You know, so we might say, well, that's none of our business, but it is our business, because the person they may harm may be you.
Yeah. I don't know if you would be able to tell me this, but as you said that, it came to my mind with the amount of crime in Trinidad and Tobago. Do you think that how we approach people who may have problems contributes to the crime situation? If we are to go into the prison, do you think if we speak with people we would get that they have come from an abusive background or something like that?
Well, everybody has a history. Everybody has a story. Everybody has a story to tell. And none of us grew up in isolation. We grew up in an environment. If we grew up here, we grew up in an environment that has all kinds of factors that affect our development, positive and negative. So wherever you go, whether it's the prison system, whether it's your schools, whether it's your workplace, no matter who you speak with, they have a story to tell.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we have a story to tell. I have a story to tell. You know, nobody's life is
a set straight and perfect
exactly.
and easy.
We all have our challenges. Now, how we manage them, how we cope with them, has to do with how we were educated. So if we were educated as to how to manage, as Natalie just said, our own feelings of anger or rage or dissatisfaction or what have you, then most likely we would use those methodologies. But if we were taught that the way that you solve a problem is to punch Rishi in his mouth, hey,
that's what you're going to do.
That's what I'm going to do, until I learn differently that, you know, that is not appropriate behavior. Yeah. There are alternatives to punching you in the face to solve a problem, you know?
Yes, there are.
Yes, there are.
Yeah. And then when you learn those alternatives, you need the tools to take the steps to have those alternative behaviors.
Yeah.
So if someone is released from prison, it depends on how much support they have at home. Right. If they're going home to an environment where they don't have their basic needs met, and there are not people there to encourage them, they don't have opportunities for job placement, and they're not provided with an opportunity to deal with the emotional pain of what happened in prison and before prison, well, then you have someone that's not at their best. And when we're not at our best, we don't make the best decisions. And so that results in crime as well. So when we talk about violence prevention, we're not talking just about enforcement, but how to help before it happens.
Yeah. And the workspace, since I told you earlier that we provide EAP services, The workspace, to me, is like a fabulous place to offer this prevention type of approach, because folks in the workspace may not be able to even recognize, you know, I need to go talk to a counselor because I'm feeling a how or whatever, but because they may not have the resources. But the employee assistance programs that their organizations have in place provide this support for them free of charge. So if indeed they recognize that they are in need of that kind of support before the event occurs, I mean, the EAP service is there for them and their family members.
And I know,
yes.
I can tell you at CNMG we have some psycho people that probably need some help. I'm not calling the director's name and the two cameramen downstairs. I'm not doing that at all.
Okay.
But I'm sure that they can contact you all and get some help.
622-6594 is the number.
As it relates to the
conference,
the 14th of September, the 25th anniversary of Elder Associates Limited. Can you give me some information as to how people can get involved?
Yes.
If they have to get a ticket, where is it taking place?
Okay. It's at the Hyatt on the
14th of September.
On a Friday. It's a Friday,
yeah.
September 14th, and it's from what, 8 o'clock, is it?
8 until 5 p.m.
Yeah, it's an all-day event.
And
8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
That's right, and we're very proud that First Citizens, as well as IGT, as well as Southern Sales has partnered with us to provide this setting and provide this conference.
Is it free to the public, or is there?
No, there is a small fee, $14.50 plus VAT. That's TT dollars.
$14.50 plus VAT.
Yes.
All right, and members of, where can they get tickets?
They can call us at 622-6594, which is our 24/7 hotline line, so anytime they could call us. And
they can also find information on our website,
on the website,
which is eldertt, eldertt.com.
All right.
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Pat Elder, Founder Director, Elder Associates Limited, and Dr. Natalie Humphrey, Clinical Director, for coming in and chatting with us about this very important initiative.
Yes.
And if you want to be part of this initiative, you can call 622-6594 for more information. This is Good Morning Trinidad and Tobago. Now here